Hi guys, make sure that you check out the other video that I have for this layout, which is called Power Pocket Scrapping. This life noted November, something along those lines. I'm sorry, I'll link it to in the information section below. So what I'm doing here is I am trying to scrapbook a total of 33 pictures. And I ended up taking 3 hours to do it. So this is a long process video, so my apologies for that. And I'm trying to use, my challenge is to use every single card in the November Scraptastic This Life Noted kit. So I started off by matting that 4x6 photo, which is the only 4x6 photo I have. So that was a no-brainer, so it was really easy for me to just mat that and it's ready to go. So that was my first step. And now I have these two photos taken out. And the reason I picked these two is that they both have a work type theme. One is homework being done, and then one is me at work. And so kind of one is being done at home at the same time the other one is happening with me at work. I've picked out some journaling cards to go with each of those photos, and I also pulled out some arrows that I will use to point to which card goes with which photo, but I won't end up doing that until the end. I pulled them out right away just for some reason, and those came from my stash, so those arrows are from my stash. The other thing that's from my stash is these 4x6 grid cards, so I'm now mounting this photo on one of them. So they look like white cards in this video, but they're actually grid cards. Some of them are from our Studio Calico grid cards that were pre-made that I bought, and then others are a piece of Studio Calico paper that I cut into 4x6 cards because I just didn't have enough pre-made grid cards, but you could use any kind of grid card. So I'm doing my journaling here with this Chamel pen that came in the November kit, and I'm just writing about how it says the card talks about Mondays, and so I'm talking about how my Monday is actually on Tuesday because I have Mondays off, and I'm just doing a little bit of layering here with some of the things in the kit. I start off slow with lots of details, but I go faster as I go along because it becomes obvious to me that I can't do this much thinking and embellishing on each card, or I'm never going to get all 33 pictures scrapbooked. So I'm just going to layer that little label that's for one of the print and cut files that I cut on my Cameo, and I'm just going to wrap it around like that because it's the easiest way to do it. And then I stapled it with the wood veneer there, and now I'm just going to sprinkle some sequins, and I'm just going to glue those on with my mono multi adhesive, my Tombow mono multi. And I'm just switching out some of the sequins so that I can have a variety of different sizes and colors on there. And then it's hard to deal with sequins in that little pouch that they come in, so I just put them on that little heart-shaped silver tray just to make it easy for me to grab the color and sizes that I need in the future. So this card will go with that card, but I don't know whether the 4x6 is going to go above or below it, so I'm going to hold off on putting the cork arrows on quite yet. So I'm actually going to wait and put those cork arrows on at the very, very end. So I'm just doing my journaling inside of the circle of this 3x4 card. It has a house plan on it, so it kind of fits with the idea of homework being done at home and work being done at work. The little ormolu cut apart there that says Tuesday, Wednesday on it was perfect because I do work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so that was nice. And then what I'm doing here is I'm just using my little way of gluing down banners so that they have a bit of lift on the ends of them by using dimensional adhesive, and that was one of the print and cut files that I printed with my printer and then cut with my Cameo. So now I'm back to this 4x6 photo that I started with, and I thought about using a paper clip here, but it's going to be too busy, so I've decided to not use a paper clip. After I tried a couple, I decided to give up on that idea. I'm just going to do the journaling right here with that same Chamel pen, and then I'm going to switch colors so that Birthday Girl stands out, and then the rest of the journaling is in black. And I'm using my Micron pen in a .05 point. And now I'm just grabbing one of my Dear Lizzie roller stamps and roller date stamps, and I'm just going to stamp the date on there. And so I had just had to check my calendar to find out what date it was. And I'm just grabbing my Surfaces ink, which in red, which is a really stinky ink. Excuse the hat. I'm wearing a winter hat. It's winter time. Well, it's November, and I scrapbook in the basement, and so I was really cold. So you'll have to excuse my head popping in bright pink every once in a while. So this is my stack of 27 2 by 2.8 by 2.8 inch photos that I'm going to be scrapbooking today. And I have a few other sizes as well, but most of them are that size. And so I just pulled out the other photos that go along with this picture of Sammy's birthday. So we did a few other things. We did a lot of other things that day. So I have these two pictures tell part of that story, but I have some other parts of the story that actually aren't included, that aren't captured in photos. So I'm going to have to add a journaling card as well that's going to cover some of the things that aren't pictured. Now here I'm thinking about using the stamp set, but I'm actually going to decide not to, because I find that stamping is one of those things that for me, it slows me down. Like, it takes me a long time to decide which stamp and which ink and where to put it and that sort of thing. So because my purpose here today is to scrapbook super fast, I'm going to keep the stamp set aside and use it another time, because it's just not going to get me through those 33 photos that I need to scrapbook today. So here's the card that I chose for my journaling for this story. So you see that it has those 5 bands of colors. It looks like I had a false start there. So I started over again with another piece of vellum. So I have this vellum cut to 3 by 4, and I'm just putting it over top of the journaling card there, or whatever kind of a card it is, and it has those 4 bands of color, those 5 bands of color on it with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'm just going to journal the 5 different parts of the story here. So the first is the trip itself to New Glasgow. The second one is about setting up for story time with Santa, the photo shoot. The second is me driving Marcel out to his friend's house, because his friend from Germany, who's like his best friend back home, happens to live in the same town that my husband's family lives in. So since we were there, we decided he could spend the day. Then the fourth part is me and the girls hanging out at the mall. And the fifth part is going to Sammy's birthday, which is actually the thing that brought us to New Glasgow, but it was the last thing in our busy day that we did that day. I'm just going to trim down this vellum so that it's smaller than the card, so that it has that vivid outline around the edges of it, like that border around the edges will be more vivid because there's no vellum there. So that's what that card looks like, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I think it does a good job of telling the story. So now I'm just going to adhere these 2.8 by 2.8 photos, these two, onto this 4 by 6 grid paper card that I have here. And I have these 2 cut aparts from Ormolu that I have picked out. One says more of this and the other says less of this. And I'm cutting them into little banners by adding a little fishtail on them. Sorry that some of it's happening off screen. And I just made it so that the fishtail banners are on opposite sides. And I'm going to put the more of this on the one where we're outside of the toy store. It's actually a teacher's store, so it's like an educational toy store. And then the less of this is what I'm putting on the fast food, just because, you know, we don't need more of that. Grabbed my Stampin' Up! Grid paper to use as a background for outlining this card, just so I don't ruin my Martha Stewart grid mat. And I was kind of messy in how I did it, so I just added some hash marks all around it so that it looks like it was purposely messy. Thought about using those Gossamer Blue day stickers, like day of the week stickers, but I couldn't figure out how to make it look good, so I decided to just not do that. And I was going to do my journaling in that Chamel pen, but I decided instead that I would spell out the word mall rats using these letter stickers that came in the kit. And they're a really pretty vellum letter sticker. So they've got, they're kind of transparent, a little bit transparent. And they're in this really beautiful neutral shade of gray, and I love it. And I'm just having a bouncing bass line for this phrase. which really just helps me to be able to place the stickers fairly quickly and not have to worry about lining them up perfectly and that sort of thing. So having a bouncing baseline is a really good way to place your letters super fast. So after I put Mallrats as the title, I'm just going to do some journaling in that Chamel pen. So just kind of talking about the day, and I was going to put a little something over here in the corner, but none of those things were really working. So then I had this idea that, oh, I could use this as like a little paper clip if I cut it out. And then I realized, wait, it's not gonna really work as a paper clip like that. So I just glued it and stuck it under. I didn't have to cut out that center after all. I don't know what I was thinking there. So now I'm just going to put a little tiny sequin right in the middle of the camera. Just again using my Tombow Mono Multi. And so those cards all go together. So I put them all together over to the side. I'm not planning out where any of these cards are going to go. I'm just making a big huge pile, and when I'm done with the cards I know I'll be done scrapbooking. So I'm just trying to stretch out my photos so that they will fill up all the cards. I don't want to end up with extra photos left over, and I also don't want to end up with extra cards left over because I've sort of planned it out that I have the right number of cards for the number of pockets that I plan to use. So again, I went through my photos, my big stack of photos, and I picked out anything from Halloween because I wanted to do all of the Halloween stuff next. So I really like this orange card for Halloween because it's orange, and I would never use the I am very busy because I don't know, I don't talk about how busy I am. I don't really consider myself all that busy. I am busy, but I don't dwell on it. So, oops, I'm putting that one down wrong, and I'll fix it. Don't worry, I remember fixing that. So I really like using the back side of that orange card for the picture of my front door, and then I'm going to use the yellow. I'm just going to trim it down a little bit so you see a little bit more of the yellow of the orange border. And I did the same with the taco costume picture because I wanted to see more of that yellow border on that card. So I'm covering over the part that says "Oh so thankful for," and I'm just leaving the white bottom as being my place for journaling. And now I'm going to put that picture of the door on the orange card, and I have that 4x6 grid card with 2 more Halloween photos on it. There are more pictures of the preparations for Halloween, and Thursday and Friday was a perfect, that's an ormolu cut apart, and that was perfect because we did decorate the house on Thursday and Friday of that week. We always leave our Halloween decorating until pretty much Halloween day, usually the day before Halloween, which was Thursday this year. We'll pull down some stuff and start doing a tiny bit of decorating, but we always carve our pumpkins after school on Halloween day. And so, yeah, so these pictures were taken mostly on Friday, but we did this stuff on Thursday and Friday. So Marcel put up some of our outside decorations. Scott made that "Don't Open Dead Inside" sign from The Walking Dead, just kind of like copying from The Walking Dead. And I was making Olivia's costume all day Thursday. And yeah, so it was all stuff that happened on those 2 days. I just talked about how I used Pinterest as my idea for making that costume, and that this door decoration is inspired by The Walking Dead, the first episode of The Walking Dead. And now I saw this "Never Grow Up" little tag from the cut aparts from Ormolu that came in the kit. I thought it was perfect for these 2 photos because it shows the dads and it shows the kids, and the dads, some of the dads were dressed up, so that was kind of funny. Scott went as a stick man. He wore like glow sticks all over his body, and the guy across the street was a cowboy, and then David didn't dress up as anything. David was David. So I just wrote like the dads and then the trick-or-treaters, and that's about it for that one. It's pretty obvious what it's about. And then this one is a picture of us. We always watch The Nightmare Before Christmas shortly after Halloween and before Christmas because we kind of consider it both a Halloween and a Christmas movie. So we watched it the day after Halloween this year. I was going to do my journaling there, but I didn't. I actually kind of liked the negative space in that photo, like how the coffee table was there and you could see the reflection from the TV on the coffee table. So I thought about doing different kinds of journaling there. Pulled out those Studio Calico labels that I love so much, but the gray one was too big. So then I grabbed these Martha Stewart labels, and that was a better size. But again, I didn't want to cover up the negative space in the photo. I liked how the photo was composed with the game in the foreground and then the movie itself. That classic scene from the movie is in the back, and I specifically like paused it there to take a picture because that's, you know, that classic scene at the beginning of the movie. So I'm doing my journaling on this piece of vellum, and I'm going to staple it onto the card in just a second after I kind of cut it off. And this is one of my favorite things to do when I'm working with cards that I love the designs on and I don't want to cover up the designs. And so vellum allows you to journal without it getting lost in the busyness of the pattern behind it. So if I had journaled right on that pattern paper, it would have looked funny, but because I put it on the journaling, it looks better. Well, I don't think it looks funny anyways. So again, I'm just looking into my kind of photos. The next thing I'm trying to scrap here are these two photos that are from a party that happened the day after Halloween. So I want to kind of keep this card with those Halloween ones. Like, I don't want it to go too far away from them, so I'm going to scrapbook it at the same time, even though I'm not really scrapbooking in order here. So I just staggered those photos on the back side of that 4x6 card that came in the kit, and I'm going to use this little strip at the top as a place to put the title, which is going to be Wing Night. Again, using those vellum stickers and trying to not make them too perfect so that I can just make it be messy on purpose so that I don't have to be too careful about lining everything up. And I'm not even putting the dots on the eyes because I can't even tell you how much I hate dots on eyes, so I'm just ignoring them. Pretending they don't exist. If only you could do that with everything that bothered you, huh? So I'm just going to do a little bit of journaling about the party. It was just at our next door neighbor's house, and the lunch lady was there, so the lunch monitor, and so, which was a bit of a surprise. So I just wrote that down and put a little arrow pointing to her face because she was sort of in the background, almost like unintentionally photobombing the photo. So I put an arrow next to her. So at this point, I'm just taking all of these are cards that I want to use and probably not cut apart. So I just took them all out and put them over in my pile of already done cards. So you see me making cards here in the main part of the screen, and then I'm moving them over to the right. What I'm doing is I'm just making a big giant pile of all of the finished cards. And so I just took out all of the filler cards that I'm pretty sure I don't need to change and just put them all over there to the right with those other cards that were finished. That way I know how many cards I actually have to do because they're in front of me. If it's in front of me, it still needs to be done, basically. And then when I have nothing left in front of me, I'll know I'm done. So just trying to decide what I'm going to do next. I'm thinking I want to scrapbook this photo of the dash of my car. I took that one day when I was on time. I'm never on time, leaving in the morning. So I took a picture as a little bit of a celebration of being not late. And I'm not late for work ever, but because I go in early, but I want to be there at a certain time. And so in my head, I need to leave at 7:20, even though I get there way before I need to if I leave at 7:20. So I do have that flexibility to leave a little bit late. So anyhow, I'm just kind of pairing up some photos that go together. So that's what you saw me do there. I put two photos that took place in my scrapbooking room. I just slapped them on one of those grid cards. And now these two are food photos. So I'm slapping them on a grid card together as well. And anything that kind of easily goes together, I'm going to put on a grid card as a pair right here and now. These two don't really go together, but I don't know what I'm thinking here. I'm just putting them together for whatever reason. Because I'm not going to be doubling up all of the photos because I don't have twice as many photos as I have 4x6 spots. So therefore it's a little bit more complicated than just doubling up all of them. So while I was looking at that rub-on, I noticed that it seemed to be the right size to go in the middle of this card. So I'm just gonna do that right now so that that's done with, and I can put it over in my pile over to the right. These rub-ons work really well. So there's that. It doesn't have any color on it. I was thinking it might be nice to have like a little shot of color. So I sprinkled some sequins on it and then I arranged them so that they went in a diagonal. And then I decided that I hated that, so I took them off. I have a love-hate relationship with sequins. Sometimes I love them and sometimes I hate them. So I love them more often than hating them, but every once in a while I just get really annoyed with the look of sequins. So I really like those two cards together. So I'm just going to put them over to the right and that'll be one pocket. I'm not even gluing it down. I'm just going to stick them in the same pocket together and the pocket will hold them in place. So I still have quite a few cards left to do here at this point. So I'm just kind of taking an inventory. And at this point I'm thinking, if I put those, I have 3 vertical photos to put in pockets that 3x4 cards would go into. So if I have some of those, that means I can take some of these. So if I have 3 of those, then that displaces 3 of these 3x4 cards. So because those photos will take the place of those. So that means that I can use 3 of these 3x4 cards. So there I'm taking some grid cards just from my stash there. They're again those Studio Calico, but they're in the 3x4 size. And I'm just going to mat each of those 3 vertical photos onto those. So there, now that frees up 3 3x4 cards. I'm going to use one of them here, this November card. And I'm choosing to use the November card here because A, I absolutely love that floral design, and B, I really like oh yeah, right. I like the fact that it says November on it because November is the month that I start my Christmas village, and that's what that photo about Michael's is going to be about. So now I noticed that that rub-on is, it says 1,000 kisses goodnight or something like that. And so I thought, oh, I have a goodnight photo with Sophie in it. So I put that there. I don't really like it there, but it's there. So it's, it's there. Yeah, it's not all that readable there. I tried to put it in one of the lighter parts of the photo, and then the rub-on kind of ripped a little bit there. So the rub-on ripped a little bit there, so I just had to fill it in with a brown marker. So back to that November card, I'm going to layer the Michael's photo with the November card and with the little orange cut apart from Ormolu. And so I'm just outlining around the photo, and I'm going to outline all of these things just so that they have a bit more contrast with that background grid paper. So I just grabbed my Stampin' Up! Grid paper again so that I don't, ruin my mat or any papers that I'm working on. I'm going to outline around the outside of the grid paper as well. So now I'm just going to bring all of those cards, those 3 elements together. I'm putting the November card down in the bottom corner, and then I'm going to put the photo up in the top corner, and then I will put the orange Ormolu piece right layered over the 2 of those in the middle. That's going to become the place that I do my journaling. And I'm just journaling using a Lumo color pen because this is one of those Ormolu cut aparts, and sometimes the printed part of those, so the orange part, is a little bit of a slick surface and some markers will smear on it, so I just use my Lumo color just to be sure. So I'm putting that over to the right in my little pile of finished cards. And now I'm just going through and thinking about what else I'm going to do here, and kind of trying to decide. So I have another displaced 3x4 card that I can use. So I'm thinking about using this one, which I didn't think I would actually get a chance to use this phrase, look both ways, because I didn't think I had anything relevant to that. But this picture here is about me about to drive out of my driveway. So that's a good time to look both ways. So I thought that'll work. So I'm just going to do some journaling, and I already talked about the story behind this photo in this video earlier in the narration. So I just journaled about it at the top, and I journaled about it a little bit more at the bottom. And then I'm looking at some of the print and cut and extra little things that came in the kit, and that day of the week blue banner thing that I'm about to glue down, and I'm going to use a pop dot to lift one of the edges. That is one of the print and cut files, so I just printed it on my printer and then cut it with my Cameo. And then I have the yeah and meh flare badge that came in the kit, and I picked the yeah side because yay, I was ready on time. So now I'm just doing another little inventory. How many cards do I have left? How many photos do I have left? Just to make sure that everything is going to spread out. And I had this box of candy on my desk. So I decided, I'm just over at my trimmer right now, and I'm just cutting it up so that it's just going to fit on a card. And so there you go. I'm just going to cut off the ends so that it fits better. And I'm going to put it on this card that has the days of the week on it, and then I'm going to messy outline around it just really quick, and I hold up high on the pen in order to make it really messy so I don't accidentally go neat. And I'm going to outline around the outside of it as well, and then I'm just going to write down my favorite candy or something like that. And this is, you know, the kind of thing that I really like including in my pocket pages, because, you know, it's just a box of candy, right? But, you know, who knows, someday I might want to look back and say, oh yeah, I remember eating those when I was younger, and that sort of thing. And my kids might be surprised that I eat them, because it's a bit of a secret. I don't let my kids know that I eat candy, so they might get a kick out of that. So now for this next card, I'm actually not going to layer. I'm going to spread everything out on the card so that it's all kind of laid out in a block type of a way. So I'm going to start by trimming down this little scrap of yellow paper that I have left over from the Look Both Ways card that I used on another. And it's all going to go on one of the 4x6 grid cards. And I'm just using my trimmer to trim down that yellow piece a little bit. I want the two pieces over on the left to be as tall and long as the two pieces over on the right. So that's what I did there. Just going to use my ATG to put it all together now. And when I trimmed down the yellow piece and turned it over, I was able to avoid getting any of the white part on it. So it's just a plain yellow piece instead of yellow and white. And there we go. Excuse the hat. Sorry about that. And now it's not quite straight, so I'm just going to straighten it out a little bit. The angles aren't quite 90 degrees there, so I'm just going to shift some things around a tiny bit so that everything looks more squared up. So there we go. And now the red piece is going to have my journaling, and the green piece already has a phrase, but the yellow piece looked a little plain. So I'm just cutting out this strip of stitches from the rub-ons, and I'm going to put those there. And I was going to trim it to size, and then I decided that I liked the look of it with the stitches kind of hanging over and going onto the red block too. So that makes it look kind of messy, and I like that look. So now I'm using this Chamel gray pen, which is the other color. So I've been using black, gray, and pink as my main colors for journaling on this spread. I think I might have said something else before. I keep having to start this narration over and over again, so I'm sorry if this is really random. I might be saying the same things over and over again because every few minutes my program quits and I lose all of my work. So I have to keep like narrating a tiny bit and then saving it, and then narrating a tiny bit and then saving it, and then sometimes I forget to do that and it quits and I lose it. So that's happened like 4 or 5 times so far. So I think it's just that this video is so big and I need to delete a bunch of stuff off of my, I think iMovie is getting a little confused. So this is a card about my ski hill for my village. I wanted one for so long and I finally got one this year, and we opened it up and the motor doesn't work. And so Scott was trying to fix it, but it's not really getting fixed. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. We can return it, but I don't want to return it because I wanted it so much. I just want to fix it. But anyways, we'll see if it gets fixed. So this is a picture of my TV and the workout video that I got. I got the Rock and Body workout video, which I've been wanting for a while, and I finally just ordered it a couple months ago, and I really love using it, but I don't use it enough. Of course, right? We all do that. We get something for working out and then we don't use it. But yeah, so it's really the funnest workout option that I have, and so I wish I could use it more. It's just there are some barriers that I'm working on overcoming. So anyways, I'm using these little letter stickers to spell out Rockin' for Rockin' Body, and I was going to do Rockin' Body, but oh, I forgot the C. Hang on, I'll put the C in there. But I kind of got to the point that I'm tired of using these stickers because it's taking too long and I'm trying to do it fast. And so I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm gone for a second, but I'm back now. I'm using a bouncing baseline again so that I can, not have to worry too much about lining up my letters and having them be all even. And now I'm just going to take a little bit of the Z and cut it off and use it for the apostrophe in rockin', just like that. And so now I'm just going to spell out body because I can't be bothered. I'm too lazy to spell it out with stickers. And so I'm just going to finish up my journaling here. And I have that, yeah, so having that good vibe, wood veneer would have been perfect there, except that it didn't fit. So the idea of it was good, like the good vibes, but just because it's a dance related card, but it didn't fit. So I went ahead and went into my stash and got these border stickers. I think they're from October Afternoon, and I just got a piece of Rick Rack sticker to put on there. And so I'm just grabbing this card and I'm going to put a little bit more journaling on it to go along with that rub-on that I put on already, that I already told you I'm not very happy with. Or at least I told you that in some iteration of this video. So there's that card done, and now I have this card with the whiteboard on it. So I've already matted it onto a grid 3x4 card, and I'm going to do a bit of journaling, and I'm just going to put a little sticker right over top, and that's just a sticker from my stash, and it's right over top Marcel's part. And Marcel does have chores, but he wasn't home when we all signed up for our chores that morning, so when he got home he signed up. So when I took the picture his part was empty, but he did do chores that day. Don't worry, we get him doing chores. So now this good vibes is something that I'm going to use for a pictureless story that I have about Marcel. And so I don't have a picture of him, although I probably did if I looked around. I do have lots of pictures of him with his earbuds in and listening to his music, but I didn't have one printed for this layout. So I'm just going to write my story about how much Marcel likes music and how important it is in his life. And it sort of reminds me a little bit of me because I was like that at his age too. So that good vibes wood veneer is really nice for that. Now I'm going to put one of those Studio Calico label stickers right here, just in that part of the sky. It's basically, the sky is really blown out in that photo because it was a really overcast day, and in order for me to get the camera to focus on Marcel and Scott, the sky got really blown out in order for it to focus properly. So that provides a really nice bit of negative space to do some journaling on, so that's what I did. And now that Starbucks card, I'm just going to leave it as it is, so that it would have been nice to have like a pop of color on that card, and if I wasn't power scrapbooking, I probably would have thought a little bit more and come up with something to put on that card. But because I'm trying to get a lot done here in a short amount of time, I just decided to leave it be. So I'm taking more inventory of what pictures I have left to scrap and what cards I have left, and I do still have lots of cards that are still lots of photos that are on the 4x6 grid cards that I need to add something to. Here's one of them. This one has two foodie pics, and for this one I'm just going to do some basic journaling under each photo. Really simple. I don't think I add anything at all to this one, so I'm just writing out what each picture is of, and that's it, putting it over in my pile to the right. Now this is a card that has two photos of my scrap room. The first one is of me snuggling with Lila while I'm waiting for the paper clipping roundtable to start because I was a panelist this month on one of their shows. And the other one is just a picture of my pegboard with my beautiful Scraptastic kit hanging on it, including this kit actually is underneath. So now on this photo, I'm doing some journaling, but I have more journaling than what will fit in the space above and below the photos. So I'm going to add some journaling cards for these, and then later on I'll put some arrows on it. You'll see me do that at the end. So this one is about how sick Nixie has been. She's been sick since we got her, and it's been quite discouraging. Actually, I've been losing sleep over it and everything. Like it's quite upsetting. So I wanted to make sure that I captured that experience in my pocket pages because it is about everyday life, and giving Nixie medicine is part of our everyday life, and worrying about her is part of life. So I thought I'd write that down, even though I really don't want to kind of dwell on it and talk too much about it. I just felt like it needed a picture and a card just to kind of note that this is something that we were going through in November of 2014. So now this is a card that goes along with the violin picture that's on the same card as Nixie at the vet. And so this one has the I, we, and you, and I just use those as sentence starters. And so I just said I, blah, 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 we, blah, 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 you, blah, 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 blah. And it's gone, so I can't read you what it was, but you probably saw it. If you want to see it up close, you can watch the other video that goes along with this layout. So here I just stapled a event ticket to this 4x6 card. And this is an old event ticket from September, but I just found it now. So I'm doing a little bit of journaling about how they did this in September, and I'm just finding the card now, so it's finding the ticket now, so it's going in my project life in a funny order. I'm just writing that down. There we go. And now in this one, this card has all these little icons down the side of it that are like, you know, TV and food and drink and stuff. So I'm just using this as a little factoid card where I can write down the things we're watching these days, the things we're eating these days, kind of like our favorites. And so my idea was that I would go gray and then pink and then gray and then pink, but then I forgot to switch back to pink, so the rest of it is all gray. So I was a little annoyed when I saw that that had happened, but it is what it is. So this card is really basic. It's just writing on the card and I'm just using the icons as the prompts for what I'm writing about. So it's a nice simple card. Getting down to the last few cards here, I'm really struggling with how I'm going to do this book. And so I'm just going to skip that for now and pick out what I'm going to do with this title card. So this is going to be my title card for all of these pages. It's just going to say November and have these chevrons. And the chevrons are just from the rub-on, so I'm just going to rub those on. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do for that. I really like the understated look, and I thought about adding more and I just decided, nope, I'm just going to leave it. I really like how it looks like that. So I'm down to my last couple of 4x6 cards and my last several 3x4 cards. So at this point I'm thinking about any ephemera that I want to make sure that I add, and so I went upstairs and grabbed this picture that my daughter had drawn, and I'm just tracing over it so that I can cut it out to be the right size. I had other things on my trimmer there. I'm just going to use my trimmer to trim it down to 4x6. And then I'm just going to use my ATG to attach it onto that grid card that I had already picked out. And I'm writing her name and the date. just so I remember which child it was. And now this is my other daughter's math. It's like a fortune teller thing that you put your fingers in and kind of count off numbers and stuff. So I decided to use this grid card as the background for it, and I put all of these day of the week stickers all in a row there, and then I had this little extra bit of space, and there are some narrower stickers, so I put one of the narrow stickers right there, and now I'm going to take my tiny attacher and just staple each one of them. And now I'm going to use these letter stickers to spell out the word math. Just I thought that those little empty spaces were the perfect size for these letter stickers, and they're gray, so they kind of coordinate really nicely with the gossamer blue on my desk collection. So that's that, and then when I stick that into the pocket, I will also stick that little fortune teller math activity thing, and that will fill a pocket. And now I am making this, I'm sorry I'm zoomed in too far and you can't really see what I'm doing. But what I'm doing here is I went and got the girls' school photos, which we didn't order their photos, but you can actually order the digital prints. And so we're thinking about getting the digital prints, but you might think that this is a little tacky, but I'm actually going to put one of the proofs in my scrapbook, and I don't think it's tacky, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. And if you think it's tacky and don't want to do it, then don't do it in yours. But I actually like the way that their photos turned out. We don't normally buy their school photos because, well, Scott's a photographer, and a lot of times they just turn out really bad looking. But these ones look really cute, so I wanted to make sure that they made it into the scrapbook. We are going to, I think we've at this point decided to buy the digital prints of these, so but I don't think I'll ever really scrapbook them because I don't like scrapbooking that kind of a thing, so this is a nice place for me to put them. I might go back and replace them with the ones that don't have the do not copy thing over top of them, but for now this is fine. And actually I don't even think I'll even bother going back to change it, even if we do buy the prints, because I can't be bothered. All right, so I've used all of the This Life Noted cards for this month. That's what they look like. All of them are completed. I can't believe I did it. And I have some leftovers. Not too many though. I was pretty minimal in my decorating. It took me about 3 hours, and I scrapbooked more than 30 photos. I have this much stuff left. I have some rub-ons, some letter stickers, and some other stickers left, and that's about it, and some sequins. So now I'm just going to place these cards in some spaces here. I have templates here for 6. You can't see the ones that are over here to the right, but just because that's the way that my camera works. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so I'm going to place these right now. Some of them go together, so that's why this might take a little while, so I'll put you on fast forward for this part. What I'm doing is I'm picking out any cards that go together and just putting them someplace together, and any cards that could be all by themselves I'm just putting over there to the left in a pile, so they can kind of go in and fill in between the cards that have to go together. And I actually don't have all that many that have to go together, so I'm starting to just place things anywhere I want to. And I'm not being too careful about this because, to be honest, it looks like the cards look great all mixed up, and so I don't really need to think too much about where I'm going to place them. But the things that I'm keeping in mind is that there are a few cards that kind of stand out, and I want to spread those around so that How Big Is Your Brave, for example, stands out, and then that big one with the circle on it and the diagonal line stands out. Also, I have a number of cards on the 4x6 cards that look very similar, so I want to kind of spread out ones that look too similar to one another as well. So yeah, that's sort of how I'm thinking about it as I place it. And I know that you can't see all of the places that I'm putting things just because it's such a big workspace that I couldn't, like, my camera would be way up inside of my light in order to be able to capture all of this. So I have so much pocket page scrappy goodness for you guys that it won't even fit in my video screen when I have my camera in the regular spot. What I have here are 6 single-sided page protectors of pocket cards for scrapbooking. These are using the This Life Noted kit from November, and I used every single card in the kit from Scraptastic, and I scrapbooked 33 photos plus ephemera and a couple of extra stories and a whole bunch of decorative filler cards as well. So this is what the whole thing looks like. I'm going to put you back in my tripod so that I can share the individual cards with you guys.